My name is Emily Harrison. If you had asked me a year ago whether I believed in near-death experiences or visions of the afterlife, I probably would have smiled politely and changed the subject. It wasn't that I didn't believe in God. I did. But the idea of seeing the afterlife or receiving a divine message felt unlikely. Life, for me, was about what I could see and touch. But everything changed for me on the evening of November 27th, 2023. That day started out like any other. I spent the afternoon with my niece Chloe, who's 10, and my nephew Liam, who's 8. They had a school fundraiser coming up, and we decided to bake cookies together. The kitchen was absolute chaos. Flour on the counters, chocolate chips spilling everywhere, and laughter that filled the whole house. I can still hear their giggles. Chloe kept sneaking bits of cookie dough when she thought I wasn't looking, and Liam kept insisting his lopsided cookies were artistic. It was one of those days that's so simple yet so joyful, you want to freeze it in time. Later that evening, I said goodbye to the kids and started the drive home. The air outside was crisp and cool, the kind of weather that makes you appreciate being alive. The roads were quiet, and as I drove, I replayed the day in my mind. I couldn't stop smiling, thinking about the mess we'd made in the kitchen and the happiness in their faces. Everything felt so peaceful, so calm. But I had no idea that in just a few moments my life would change forever. As I drove down the quiet, dimly lit streets, replaying the laughter and joy of the day in my mind, I felt a sudden, sharp shift within me. It came out of nowhere, a wave of dizziness that blurred my vision, followed by a strange, crushing pressure in my chest. My hands gripped the steering wheel tightly, but it didn't matter. I knew something was very wrong. Everything happened so quickly. My car began to veer, and I had no control over it. Panic surged for a brief moment, but it was immediately followed by something else. And then it happened. 1 second, I was sitting in my car, struggling to make sense of what was happening. The next, I wasn't there anymore. I can't fully explain how it felt, but it was as if I had stepped out of my body, like shedding a coat that had grown far too heavy. In an instant, all the pain, all the fear, all the weight of the moment was gone. I wasn't in my car anymore. I wasn't on Earth anymore. Instead, I found myself in a place of absolute peace, a peace so profound that it felt alive. I didn't feel afraid. In fact, I felt freer than I ever had before. It was as though every burden I had ever carried in life, the worries, the stress, the fears, had simply melted away. I don't remember the chaos of the crash. I don't recall the sound of the impact or what happened to my car. All of that faded instantly as I stepped into this new reality, leaving behind everything I thought I knew. At that moment, I realized something extraordinary was happening, but I had no idea what lay ahead. The next thing I remember was the light. It wasn't like the light we know here on Earth, not the harsh glare of the sun or the artificial brightness of a lamp. This light was alive. It pulsed with energy, warmth, and love, wrapping itself around me like the most comforting embrace I had ever felt. But it didn't just surround me. It filled me. I could feel it illuminating every corner of my being, as if it was reaching into my very soul and erasing every shadow that had ever existed there. I had never felt so safe, so loved. In that light, I felt the immediate release of everything I had carried with me during my earthly life. The stress, the worry, the fear, it was all gone. For the first time in my existence, I felt weightless, free. It wasn't just a feeling of relief, it was a sense of belonging. It was as though I had finally stepped into the place I was always meant to be. I didn't feel like I was leaving anything behind. Instead, I felt like I was coming home. Then, I began to notice something else. The light was accompanied by colors, but these weren't ordinary colors. They were vibrant and radiant, so much so that they seemed to glow with life. Some of the colors defied earthly understanding. I don't even have words to describe them. But these colors weren't just beautiful. They communicated something. Each one seemed to carry its own emotion, its own meaning. They weren't static. They moved and danced, as if they were alive. And then, there was the music. It wasn't coming from one place, it wasn't coming from anywhere, really. It was everywhere. It filled the air, the light, the colors, and even me. This music wasn't like anything I'd ever heard before. It wasn't made by instruments or voices as we know them. It was pure worship, a harmony so perfect, so transcendent, that it resonated through every part of me. I didn't just hear the music. I felt it. It flowed through me, speaking directly to my soul in a language that needed no words. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about what had happened to me or what was coming next. I was completely absorbed in the beauty of it all, the light, the colors, the music. For the first time in my life, I felt whole. As I stood there, completely immersed in the light, the colors, and the music, I began to sense something, or rather, someone. At first, it was just a presence, subtle but unmistakable. I could feel it drawing closer, and with it came an overwhelming sense of peace and reverence. When I turned, I saw him, a radiant angel standing before me. He was unlike anything I could have imagined. This wasn't the soft, cherubic figure you see in paintings or statues. This angel was majestic and powerful, radiating an authority that was undeniable yet deeply comforting. His presence exuded strength, as though he carried the weight of eternity on his shoulders. But there was also a profound compassion in him, a love that seemed to flow from every part of his being. I couldn't speak, but I didn't need to. Somehow, he knew everything I wanted to ask, everything I was feeling. The angel looked at me with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages, and when he spoke, his voice wasn't something I heard, it was something I felt. "You have been brought here for a purpose," he said. There was no doubt in his words, no ambiguity. He wasn't asking, he was stating a truth. "This place," he continued, "is not your final destination. You are here to witness what must be shared. The world needs to know what is coming, and you have been chosen to carry this message." Before I could fully process what he had said, the angel extended his hand, not physically, but in a way that invited me to look beyond the light and the beauty surrounding us. And then the visions began. The first thing I saw was the Earth, but not as we see it from space. It was as though I was looking at the planet through spiritual eyes. The surface was shrouded in both light and darkness. The darkness was thick and suffocating in some areas, representing the struggles, deceptions, and battles humanity was facing. It was a darkness born of fear, greed, and spiritual blindness. But then there was the light. The light pierced through the darkness like beams of hope, radiating out from certain places on the earth. These lights, the angel explained, came from the prayers and faith of believers. Each prayer, each act of faith, was like a beacon, pushing back the shadows. "You see," the angel said, "the battle is not only around you, it is within you. Humanity must wake up. They must understand what is happening and prepare their hearts." As the vision shifted, I realized that what the angel was showing me was not just a snapshot of the present. It was a glimpse into what was to come. The angel gestured, and suddenly I was shown the earth, but not as I had ever seen it before. It was as if I was looking at the planet through spiritual eyes. From above, I could see the earth shrouded in a mixture of light and darkness. The darkness was dense and oppressive, spreading across vast areas of the planet. I could feel its weight, and it wasn't just physical, it was spiritual. This darkness represented the struggles, deceptions, and battles humanity was facing. It was born of fear, greed, and the rejection of truth. But amidst the darkness, there were glimmers of light. These lights weren't scattered randomly. They were deliberate, focused. They radiated upward like beams piercing through the shadows, powerful and unyielding. "What are those lights?" I asked, though I didn't speak the words aloud. The angel turned to me and said, "Those are the prayers of believers. Each prayer, each act of faith, is like a beacon. Together, they push back the darkness." I watched as the light from these prayers grew stronger, joining with others to create networks of brightness across the globe. It was then that I realized something profound. The power of prayer isn't just symbolic, it is real, it is tangible. The angel explained that prayer wasn't just about asking for things, it was about connection. It was a way for believers to align their hearts with God, drawing His presence into the world and pushing back the forces of darkness. Then, the vision shifted. The angel began to reveal what was coming: 4 major events that would unfold in 2025. The first event was one of hope, a global spiritual awakening. I saw people from all walks of life turning to God in ways they never had before. It was as though a great yearning had been awakened within humanity, drawing them toward truth and faith. But this awakening wasn't easy. It was challenging. People were forced to confront their beliefs, to question the values they had built their lives around. For some, this meant embracing God for the first time. For others, it meant letting go of comfortable lies they had clung to for far too long. This awakening was a time of transformation, a chance for humanity to realign with the divine. Then came the second event: disruption and chaos. I saw the earth trembling with natural disasters, earthquakes splitting the ground, floods sweeping through cities, and wildfires consuming entire landscapes. The destruction was widespread, affecting every corner of the planet. But it wasn't just nature that was in turmoil. Alongside these disasters, I saw economic instability and uncertainty. People struggled to find stability in a world that seemed to be falling apart. And yet, the angel made it clear: these events were not punishments. They were wake-up calls. They were reminders that the things humanity often places its trust in, money, possessions, earthly stability, are fleeting. These moments of disruption were meant to refocus humanity's attention on God. The third event was the most intense: the intensification of the spiritual battle. I saw an unseen war growing fiercer, one that wasn't fought with weapons, but within the hearts and minds of people. This spiritual battle wasn't confined to any one place, it was everywhere. And the choices people made during this time revealed where they stood spiritually. It wasn't about perfection, it was about intention. Were they moving toward God or away from Him? I felt the weight of this battle, the pull of light and darkness in every decision, every action. The angel warned that this time would test humanity's faith and values like never before. But then came the fourth event: unity among believers. Despite the chaos, I saw a vision of incredible hope. People from every nation, every culture, every background were coming together in worship. This wasn't about religion or denominations. It was about a shared love for God and a commitment to His truth. Believers stood side by side, united by faith, preparing for something far greater than themselves. The angel's voice became firm as he delivered the final message. "These events are not far off," he said. "They are not distant. They are imminent." There was an urgency in his words, a call for humanity to prepare now, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. "Turn back to God," he said. "Strengthen your faith. Stay vigilant against deception. The time is short, and the world must be ready." I could feel the weight of his message pressing on my soul. This wasn't just a vision for me, it was a message for everyone. As I stood there, absorbing everything I had been shown, the angel's gaze softened, but his words carried even greater weight. "You cannot stay," he said, though I felt no rejection in his voice. Instead, there was purpose, a mission, something I couldn't ignore. "You have been chosen to witness these things so that you may tell others," he continued. "The world must hear what you have seen. They must understand what is coming and turn back to God. This message is not just for you. It is for everyone." For a moment, I wanted to resist. The peace, the light, the music, all of it felt like home. I didn't want to leave. But deep down, I understood that my time in that place wasn't meant to be permanent. I had been given a responsibility. The angel looked at me one final time and said, "Go back. Share what you have learned. Help them prepare." And with that, everything around me began to fade. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air. My chest felt heavy, my body weak, but I was alive. I opened my eyes to the faces of paramedics, their voices a mix of urgency and relief as they worked to stabilize me. Physically, I felt fragile, like a thread that had just barely been tied back together. But spiritually, I was completely transformed. I lay there, overwhelmed by what I had just experienced. But one thing was crystal clear. My life could never go back to the way it was before. The mission the angel had given me echoed in my mind. This wasn't just about my own journey. It was about helping others wake up, turn to God, and prepare for what was to come. I knew that from that moment on, my purpose was no longer about living for myself. It was about sharing the truth no matter the cost. If this story has resonated with you, I urge you to take it to heart. This isn't just my experience, it's a message for all of us. Please take a moment to reflect on your own spiritual journey. Are you prepared? Have you turned your heart to God? Now is the time to let go of distractions and embrace His love and truth. If you found this testimony meaningful, I encourage you to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and click the notification bell so you don't miss more stories like this. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Together, we can spread the light, push back the darkness, and help others find their way back to God. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you on your journey of faith.